And gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of the Dan Dawson Show. So, and Tammy can attest to this. Yesterday, I was planning on putting up a video defending the armorer on the Alec Baldwin shooting set, because nothing I've heard has placed her at the scene. And then you have all this stuff coming out about COVID-19 restrictions. The cart had to be kept outside of the building or any building. It's like the armor has to be on set. It's like, how are you supposed to do your job? Then to come and find out, well, she loaded the rounds herself. So it's like, yeah, you screwed that up. So that's why I didn't put out a video yesterday. I spent all day and I was taking notes and I got my little notebook and my pen. I'm like, if I was a defense attorney, how would I defend this lady? And it's like, So I kind of changed it up because I realized something. Well, I didn't just realize it. I realized it a long time ago. Now, keep in mind, I spent the last 21 years in Seattle. Not Seattle, outskirts of Seattle. But if I told you where it was, you wouldn't believe me. Tacoma, Washington State, it's all blue. And I've learned the leftist tactic. So I wanted to teach you the leftist tactic. The leftist tactic is, I'm going to attack you and then pretend to be a victim. You see it all throughout this stuff. I just watched one of the guys who was attacking Kyle Rittenhouse with a skateboard. Keep in mind, skateboards can be very dangerous. I had a buddy, good dude, worked in a warehouse, lumberyard, cut lumber. Very good at it, became a manager. Walks outside of Denny's one night in Washington. And there's a kid pissing on the hood of his car. And he's like, hey, bro, what are you doing? And they attacked him with his skateboards. He lost an eye, suffered horrible traumatic brain injuries to where he couldn't even remember his kids. And he was a dedicated father. Good dude, really, really good dude. So this is why it strikes me so hard, because this is what the left does. But I'm going to teach you ways to get around it, to deal with it. So let's take, for instance, Kyle Rittenhouse, his judge. And I think this bodes well for Kyle Rittenhouse. The prosecutor wanted to refer to the people he shot as victims. The judge said, no, you can refer to them as looters and rioters, but not victims. And if you watch the Kyle Rittenhouse video, it's clearly a case of self-defense. Whatever charges he may face other than that, I don't know. And it's telling, as a person who is good with firearms, loves firearms. If you can hit every single target you're shooting at and not hit anybody else, that's a feat of accomplishment. So apparently this kid was trained. This kid, he did his thing. But now, so what I watched, the lone survivor from Kyle Rittenhouse shooting 3 of the attackers, now he wants to play the victim. But see, that's what they do. That's what they do. Let's take some more examples. Let's take some more. I watched The View. Actually, I didn't watch the whole episode because I don't believe in torturing myself like that. It's crazy. They're trying to come up with ways that Alec Baldwin is innocent. Well, it could have been a shrapnel. No, the sheriff of that county in New Mexico said no, those were live rounds. And then you have The View saying, well, what is a live round? Okay, so let me explain it to you. A round is made up of the lead ball or lead hollow point, depending on if you're using defense ammo, a primer, a casing, and powder. See, when the hammer or the striker hits the primer, it creates a spark. That spark ignites the powder. The casing holds that explosion in and directs that explosion. And the lead round goes out of the front of the barrel. But they were trying to find a way to make it seem like Alec Baldwin was the victim. And they've been trying it. I see it. If you look at the Dave Chappelle controversy that's going on, this dude showed up to support Dave Chappelle. They physically attacked him, took his sign. And once they took his sign off his stick, right, they said, oh, he has a weapon. But this is what the left does. They will attack you and then claim to be the victims. Even the transgender woman who let the transgender man who let the walkout at Netflix tries to play the victim role. Oh, I can't believe you're saying this about me and you're saying that and blah, blah. It's ridiculous. The good part is normal citizens aren't falling for it. I felt kind of a little bit more empowered since I'm back here in Texas. But this is what they do. So let me tell you a little story. So I had a friend, LBGTQ, and we had many back and forths on Facebook. I'm like, you know what? Let's just do a video. Let's do it. You invite 3-4 of your LBGTQ friends, and I'll come on by myself and we can debate it. We can debate it. So her reasoning was, her thought was, everybody meet at my house and we'll just use different camera angles. And I'm like, no, there's a reason I did that. When you're in an altercation with one of these leftists, what they will do is they will verbally or physically attack you and then play the victim. So I said, no, we can do it over Zoom. It's very viable. Let's do it over Zoom. So we did the entire show over Zoom. And the reason being is that I did not want to be in a place where I know these leftists hate me. And their teaching is to play the victim role. That's their cult. That's their religion. Oh, he said this, or he did this, or Dan was in my house and you know what? I think Dan raped this person. I chose not to do it like that. It's like, no, I'm going to sit in the comfort of my own home, my own office. And let's just, we can do it like that. And so they agreed. So if you've ever seen the interview, which I think it got buried, I don't think she actually published it. I actually ended up, through words, through talking, turning most of them around to my cause. My cause is fair, equitable treatment. Fair, equitable treatment. And it doesn't matter if you're black or white or Indian or whatever. But this is what these leftists do. And so another reason I tell you to the number one thing you should do is videotape from beginning to end. If a leftist walks up to you and begins the conversation, so understand, they're going to begin it off all nice and smooth and soft. That's not actually what's going on. It's not actually what's going on. Because you can bet sooner or later they're going to get violent. either physically or verbally. They're going to get violent. So your way to counteract that, should you have to go to court, is to have the full script. Now, let's talk about this whole Alec Baldwin thing. Alec Baldwin is a darling to the left. A darling. He can do no wrong. Even though he just killed a woman. And you blame it on the 24-year-old armorer. Well, here's the problem. Alec Baldwin and the assistant director both had the assistant director had been fired from previous movie sets for bullying people about safety. And you can watch the testimony and it's all good. I've watched these videos and I see this and I know this because I was in Washington State. I've been to Seattle, I've been to Chop, I've been to Chaz. And they will be aggressive because they have cameras rolling all the time. They will be aggressive to the point you have to react. And so I guess what I'm saying is to my base is make sure you have recordings, understand your state laws about combat. Most states, actually I think all 50 states have rules about combat. And know what you got to do. And when you know what you got to do what you got to do. Take, for instance, if I'm walking down the sidewalk in Lakewood, Washington, and you walk up and say, hey, I'm going to kill you, I could take out my gun and shoot you in the face. There's nothing anybody can do about it. Learn those laws. And that's how we counteract them. Because there's just one big mob rolling around with their little stupid, insidious plan. But look at what they do. Take, for instance, Dr. Sanjay Gupta on the Joe Rogan show. His defense of why he said what he said and admitted publicly that Joe Rogan was right and CNN never should have lied about Joe Rogan taking horse dewormer. You know what he said? I felt he was going to attack me. He's a 6'2", 240-pound MMA fighter, and I was afraid. That's what they do. So how do you protect yourself from that? Exactly like Joe Rogan did. And Sanjay Gupta, I'm not even going to call him a doctor anymore. Doctors are evil, and I'll tell you a story about that. Actually, I'm going to on this video. Joe Rogan walked him in, set him down. They were already recording, and they just kept rolling. That's why if you'll notice, if you look at me and any of the CNN threads, I find liberals and ask them, hey, you want to come on Facebook Live and debate? No editing. No editing. We could talk it out. They never do. See, because the video they want out there is you attacking them. So, you know what? It may come a time when you have to attack them. But in the meantime, we know this about the liberals. They're going to attack you first. And you need that video. Keep your video cameras rolling. Choose the battles you want to fight. And on the land you want to fight them. And that was kind of my whole thing with the whole... Because this liberal show, right? It was only one episode. But I realized I'm not going to walk into a house full of liberal LGBTQ plus raping kids and having boys in high schools dress up in dresses and do lap dances for fucking teachers. I didn't want to be part of that crowd. And you know what? I was going to let them set me up. Don't let them set you up. Because there's a lot of liberal judges out here. Kyle Rittenhouse, I think, has gotten lucky. Because you look at the video, It's clearly self-defense. It's not even a question. Don't let these liberals set you up, because that's what they do. See, they'll attack you and they pretend to be the victim because they're a bunch of bitches. Don Lemon does it all the time. All the time. Matter of fact, I watched a Fox and Friends episode yesterday with Geraldo. My God, this dude is such a fucking idiot. And he's like, they were talking about Merrick Garland, who issued a memo stating that the Department of Justice should go after parents who show up to school board meetings. Everyone's like, yeah, but, yeah, he did that, but they went after him so hard. And Jesse Waters was like, do you not remember the Kavanaugh trials? It's ridiculous. I mean, don't fall for this. Like I said, if a liberal walks up and starts talking to you, I don't care if it's your brother, your sister, your father, your mother, your son, your daughter. Start videoing. Because they're in a cult. They are in a cult, and they don't even realize it. But see, this is how the Nazis took over Germany and Austria and most of Europe. This is exactly how. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've ran a little longer than I wanted to. I hope you just take those smart pieces of communication. Also, another thing I want to tell you, if a liberal puts their hands on you, fight like hell. Because you know what? They're not going to stop. You have to defend yourself. At the end of the day, you have to make it home. So, like, subscribe, share. And as always, do what you got to do.